there's a lot that goes into the lead up to making the decision to go no contact. Nobody does it lightly. Nobody does it overnight. Nobody just wakes up one morning and is like, you know what? I'm never going to talk to my parent again. Like, that's just not how it happens.
Hello and welcome to How to Be a Terrible Daughter, the podcast where we hate your parents for you. Someone's got to do it. We joke about our horrible childhoods and we talk about how we survived them, and we shared the tools that we've learned along the way.
Hating your parents is the easiest job I've ever had, really.
Yeah, actually, yeah. And, it's nice to actually do it as a professional as opposed to a talented amateur.
That's true. We're professionally hating each other's parents now and our own. I love that. And all of our audience's parents. We hate them so much.
Yes. And our listeners. Yes. I love it.
I know.
It's nice,
anyway, I digress.
I'm Elizabeth. I'm a professional parent hater. Only the ones who deserve it, by the way. So I have nuance. And I am a psychotherapist and a graphic designer.
Ooh, yes, you are. And I am Megan, and I am an occupational therapist and an energy healer and a medical intuitive and a tech nerd. I don't know. What would be my equivalent to your graphic designer? Yeah. I do.
Oh my gosh.
You do the art. I did tech.
It's amazing.
I know. And we are cousins. We grew up together watching each other's narcissistic moms, the absolute shitheads. And so we have a unique perspective because we were there for our own childhoods and also somewhat for each other's childhoods, though, although the worst shit always happens behind closed doors, as we know.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We have the personal experience and the professional experience, and then we can also check each other's stories.
Yeah.
Right? Which is really great. It really helps with the gaslighting.
Yeah. Reality testing and validation is so helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah. So today we wanted to sort of do a sequel to an episode we did last season. We did an episode called 3, 2, or No Contact about how to go no contact with your narcissistic person in your life, parent, person. And today we want to talk a little bit about what happens after you go no contact, because that's a whole other thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And part of the reason why we're doing it is because the holidays are coming up, and we do have episodes on how to manage low contact or how to manage the holidays, but we are in the position of no contact during the holidays, and that's kind of its own special terrain. So we wanted to kind of, speak to some of that. So once you actually get out, what's it like? What's it like to be on the outside?
Yeah, totally. And, we both said that it was the best decision we ever made. Yeah. And that doesn't mean it wasn't an incredibly hard one, right? And it doesn't mean the consequences of it or the repercussions or the whatever were all joy and love, right? Like there's a lot of not so pleasant stuff to go through, after you make that decision. It doesn't change my mind at all that it was the right decision.
The image in my mind was that I had finally escaped from prison and I hadn't arranged anyone to pick me up.
Oh, yeah. I also a lot of times felt like I'd escaped from a prison. That's interesting. I talked in therapy a lot about how when I think back on my childhood, especially the times when I was living in my parents' house, it was different, obviously, once I got out and was sort of on my own. But I talk about it a lot as being in prison and being interrogated by, you know what I mean? Like that fear of you never know what's going to happen. You never know when they're going to pull you in the room. You never know. It reminded me a lot of that.
Yeah. We need to have a conversation with you right now.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, we're talking about this because obviously there's a lot that goes into the lead up to making the decision to go no contact. Nobody does it lightly. Nobody does it overnight. Nobody just wakes up one morning and is like, you know what? I'm never going to talk to my parent again. Like, that's just not how it happens, right? I think for me, it
Totally.
took over 2 or 3 years from when I first started considering it to when I went no contact. And then I think I, broke that and tried to have contact again a couple years later and then went no contact again, right? It's a process. It's
Mhm.
a, long process.
It's like sobriety.
Yeah, really. And so there's a lot going up to it. And then you finally put your line in the sand, right? Of I'm not going to tolerate this anymore. And you probably say something thoughtful and kind to the narcissistic parent. I know you and I both did. You and I both said to our moms, like, look, we're not saying we never want to talk to you again, but here's what needs to happen. Like therapy needs to happen, medication needs to happen, right? Like mental health medication needs to happen. Like we gave a very clear map back to relationship with us, right?
Yeah. And opportunities. Yeah.
You were very thoughtful and kind. I think I was relatively thoughtful and kind. So even with putting all of that thought into how to phrase it and how to say it and whatever, there's obviously going to be some pushback, put it mildly. It's hard. So we wanted to talk a little bit about both the internal experience after you go no contact, what it feels like, and then also the external experience, like what other people might say or do, especially the flying monkeys and, other
Yeah.
people that just don't understand the dynamics of the relationship because, like I said, the worst stuff happens behind closed doors, right? So they don't know, you know? Yeah. So do you want to talk a little bit about your inner experience when you went no contact?
Yeah. I mean, I think that the first thing, aside from like there being no map, like, oh my God, what do I do now? Is I still felt like I had my back against the door,
Mm,
and I think it's one of those things where it took a lot of energy to maintain the boundary because the narcissist is so good at just eroding your boundaries and eroding your sense of self. I don't think it took more energy to maintain no contact, but it certainly wasn't easy. It was something that I felt like psychically and emotionally, it was a task I was constantly performing. And when I say, I had my back up to the door, it's like I saw this horror movie. I am always talking about how horror movies relate to my.
Gee, I wonder why.
I wonder why. So there's this movie called Speak No Evil. There's just this scene where this guy is trying to like basically punch his way into a room. And the person who's trying to get away is so busy trying to put their whole body against the door, to keep the room from being overrun, that they can't actually do anything to like leave the actual building. Right? And so I was really surprised when I went no contact at how unrelaxed I was. Like it was
Mm,
supposed to be a relief. Like
yeah.
it was supposed to be like, oh, like all of this turmoil is over. And like now I don't have to deal with it anymore.
Yeah.
But there was so much pressure. And I'm not talking about like, because I had a supportive inner circle and everything. Like I didn't really talk to anybody who was not supportive. So, but the internal pressure and the pressure from my mom, it's like I could feel it
Yeah.
all the time, just all the time. And that was a lot. And it was disappointing.
Yeah. It's interesting as you're saying this, I'm realizing. So you didn't have that long between when you went no contact and when your mom died, right?
I
So
think it was 8 months. Yeah.
yeah. And so I'm realizing like, oh yeah, those first couple years when I went no contact with my mom were
Oof.
really hard. I didn't really get to the full like relief point. Well, I didn't get to the full relief point until she died, but I didn't get to the 80% relief point until several years afterwards because of that pressure and because of that knowing she was going to do something fucked up and crazy, usually through other people, right? And just
Yeah.
waiting for that and feeling that pressure and, constantly knowing and hearing how hurt she was and, how horrible I was and blah, 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 right? So I'm
Yeah.
sorry that you didn't get to like the other side where, she could exist in the world and you could feel some peace.
I'm actually just glad that she's gone.
Well, I mean, yes, I'm not like she should have lived longer because then, no, that's not what I'm saying. Like, yeah. But yeah, like as you're talking about this, I'm like, oh, yeah, it did take years of feeling a lot of turbulence in a lot of different directions before I felt truly free. And a lot of it was logistical. I'm now thinking it was like, because, she would have people show up at my door,
which is just so fucked up.
And so it really did take until like I'd moved probably to a new city and she literally didn't know where I was living. Like she didn't know what part of the country I was living in. Left the job I was at when I went no contact with her. So she had no way to contact my employer, which she also did on several occasions. And so I think
was worried about you.
Yeah, exactly. Worried about me. This is how she shows her love.
Yeah.
So, I think to your point, there is a lot of stuff that only comes from time and logistics changing.
Yeah.
That you really do finally feel that freedom. But it does come, I promise.
It does come.
It does come. So, like the time leading up to going no contact and the time afterwards is really rough. It's really, really rough. And like you said, you do need that support system. Like you absolutely need a therapist and you absolutely need supportive friends who get it, other terrible children or people who just understand. But it does get better. I mean, it did get to a point where, but it did take years where I wasn't thinking about her, at least once a day, right? That I didn't think of her really at all. It was, maybe once a month I thought of her, something like that, right? Which is, first of all, I would like to just zoom back for a second and say how sad that is, that was like, I was happy that I only thought of my mom once a month. Like, who wants that relationship with their mom? No one, right? Like, people want to have a relationship where they talk every day and this person is supportive and loving. And so, God, what a messed up situation that you even have to get to this point, right?
Yeah, yeah. I saw a key ring a while back, but it was a key. You know how like they're like these little things and it says things, like a hotel room key.
Yeah.
And it was a key ring that said, call your mom. And I was like, like they're supposed to, like, that's supposed to be comforting. Like, it's okay. Like, you should call your mom because she's going to actually make you feel better no matter what. And I'm just like, I had to intellectually reverse engineer that.
Yeah. I mean, it's like anytime I see any social media post or anything about someone who has either like moved far away from where their mom is or, their mom passed away or whatever, and they're just so upset because they don't have this person in their life anymore that was so important to them and so, supportive and loving and kind. And I'm just like, it always simultaneously makes me really sad and pisses me off at the same time.
Yeah. See, I just have this weird nausea feeling, like what is happening? Like I'm dizzy.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
Anyway, I think the thing for me was that I think there was a part of me that felt like going no contact was like making a touchdown. I finally get my ball into the end zone and like now I can just like do my victory dance and like everyone's gonna like.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's not like that at all. It is exhausting.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And then there's, if your parents are anything like our moms, there's the flying monkeys that they're going to send after you, right? If they're their friends or other family members, who are going to contact you and say, your mother's really upset. Like you said, she's worried about you. She doesn't understand why this is happening. I think you and I both got our moms telling people that they didn't understand, that we didn't explain, and they didn't understand why this was happening. We just one day stopped talking to them, which I know for a fact is complete BS. We both, again, gave them very clear parameters of like, what it would take to keep going in the relationship. Yeah. So you're going to get a lot of gaslighting. You're going to get a lot of guilt. You're going to get a lot of flying monkeys. And I think the best thing you can do with that is just have an answer like already set up that you can say to people, right? And it can be a relatively neutral thing. So it could be something like, what, my relationship with her was just causing me way too much anxiety. And I asked her to go to therapy so that we could have some professional help in resolving that. And she said no, or whatever the case is, right? but just something very, very neutral so that you're not defending yourself and getting into that quicksand of, you're never going to get out of that, right? Because
Yeah.
narcissists love when you try to defend yourself. That's just more, gas for their fire. But yeah, something very neutral, something that doesn't put the blame squarely on them, but just says the relationship was causing me anxiety, right? Or whatever the phrase is. And then the flying monkeys they don't really have much they can say to that, right?
I also recommend making sure that every time you talk to a flying monkey, you actually have someone in your supportive circle that you talk to immediately after or like that day or something like that, because the emotional cost of some of it's just the uncertainty and also feeling like I know for me, like I didn't want to put anybody else in the middle. I didn't really disclose how horrible it was or whatever, but that would sort of, put them in the other person's camp automatically, not even knowing how a conversation was going to go or, what was going to come at you. That is also exhausting. That takes a lot of energy.
I just assumed that the flying monkeys wouldn't believe me. I just assumed that if I told them something that they would go back to my mom and she would be like, oh, I would never do that. Oh my gosh, Megan is so mentally ill that she would say something like that. So yeah, I didn't even try because
yeah. And the type of abuse that we're talking about is deliberately designed to not hold up to scrutiny, right?
Yeah.
They knew not to do the things that were obvious, like they knew to feed us and clothe us and to send us to nice schools and to take us on trips and blah, 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 because they knew what would look bad and what wouldn't look bad. And they knew what would make us sound crazy and what would make us believed. They knew exactly not to do those things that would actually give us credibility.
Yeah. Narcissists are masters at curating how other people see them.
Yeah.
They really are.
That's what they're all about.
That's what they're all about, right? It's about making sure you're seen in a good light. I mean, that's what the core of the disease is, right? Is this insecurity that you can't be seen as having any faults, or you can't be seen as vulnerable, or you can't be seen as weak in any way. So your whole existence becomes crafting this, narrative of perfection, right? Or a narrative of victimhood, right? Or something like that, right? But, a narrative where you're never at fault, right?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. So we wanted to talk a little bit about sort of how to manage the empty space in your life, the emotions that we were talking about that are coming up, new routines, which also, like you said, kind of includes holiday stuff. Like, I know you used to have family dinners once a week, right? That were part of your, before you went no contact, right? So sometimes there's, routines or things like that change. And it can be really hard because regardless of whether you want a change or not, change always makes you reassess. And there's always got to be a grieving process about losing the way things were and having to come up with a new way of being, right?
Yeah. No matter how bad the old way was, it's still stressful, to have to change things.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And like you said, there's no map. There's no map for what to do in the holidays when you're not going home to see your family. There's no map for what to do when somebody says like, oh, nice to meet you. Like, where are your parents from? Or something like that. Or tell me what your parents do for a living or something. You know what I mean? Like, there's no map for how to say like, oh, actually, I don't talk to my mom anymore. Right. Because that, most people don't understand that. And that if you say it like that, they're all of a sudden going to look at you a certain way. Right. So, it's definitely, it's different than it was before. It's like we said, there's, some stuff that's really, really hard. There's also some stuff that's really good. I mean, it's just a huge relief. I'm sure it was a relief to you to know that you didn't have to go to those dinners once a week.
Yes. Or twice a week.
Oh, was it twice a week? Jesus. God. How did you survive?
I didn't. I mean, I was wasting away. That was one of the things that made me realize, which was like, it was very clear I was wasting away. and they were perfectly fine with it. They were fine.
I didn't think it was their fault. How could it possibly be their fault? They were nothing but loving and nurturing.
But the thing is that it doesn't even matter if it was their fault or not. They weren't concerned for me.
Yeah.
I was really obviously shutting down and not doing well.
Yeah.
And that was okay with them.
That would take them being able to see that someone outside of themselves was having a different experience. And I don't think that for narcissists, that's possible.
That's true. That's true.
I think you're giving them way too much credit.
I just mean that, like, yes, part of it is sort of like the lies that they will tell you, which is like, of course we love you. And of course we want to support you. And like, whatever you need. And like, we're there when things are hard and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, yeah, is that really what's happening?
That's the mind fuckery, right? Is that they're saying one thing, like what they're saying sounds like the right thing you're supposed to say, right? We love you, whatever you need, like, all of that. But what they're doing, their actions do not match their words. And that's why it is so crazy making, Yeah.
They believe what they're saying.
They believe what they're saying. They believe what they're saying. So let's talk a little bit about holidays, or again, like if you had a regular routine, like you talked to your parent on the phone once a week, or you went to dinner with them or whatever, what are some things you can put in place or ways that you can take care of yourself, especially if it's like your first holidays going no contact or your first couple months going no contact? Like, what would you say, what advice would you give people for sort of the very recent, like within the last year of going no contact? Or first year.
What I would say is don't expect too much of yourself. So part of it is that, the kind of abuse that you suffer, what it does is it erodes your sense of self. And part of that is wanting things and being interested in things and being able to make plans. So, like, I think the first thing is if you end up doing nothing, you end up doing nothing. Yeah. And that's not a bad thing. You're kind of in recovery. You're convalescing.
Yeah.
And what I would say is that the normal social conventions do not apply to you. You are not required to participate in the holidays or anything like that, actually, ever again. What I'm realizing is that, because I was actually kind of surprised. It was like, oh my God, like this is my first holiday without my mom. I could do anything I want. And then it was like, there was the blank space there. And then there was just like no energy.
Yeah.
But I think what I've come to realize is that famously, right, people who come from these families often hate their birthdays and they hate the holidays.
Yeah.
And that's actually because of trauma. So there's these are traumatic times. Oftentimes, these are the times of the year when narcissists deliberately behave horribly. And so if you want to opt out forever from your birthday or from the holidays, that is actually perfectly fine.
Yeah.
It is perfectly fine.
Yeah.
And that doesn't have to be forever, but you can just kind of give yourself a pass.
Yeah. Or give yourself a very small holiday. Like I've done a holiday, like a Thanksgiving or a Christmas or something, like just with a friend or my partner. And that's it. And it actually feels really safe and lovely. So,
yeah, that's
just do a really, really small, intimate thing. Something you said, which I think is really true and striking, is, you come out of here, you finally feel like you're free, and then you don't know what you want. And I think that's true on so many levels, because it was dangerous to have needs and to have an individual personality that was different than your parent, or to have any goals or desires that were different from what they valued or what they wanted for you. And so after you go no contact, there's a whole period. I mean, I feel like I'm still doing this decades later, where I'm like, what do I actually like? We have all these, if you describe, tell me about yourself. What do you like? Right. And you can sort of rattle off, right? Like, oh, well, I love reading and I love travel and I love this and I love that. But I had to go through all of those and be like, do I really like those things? Or was that just what I was given affection for or praise? Right.
Mm-hmm.
Or, was there something I did like that was shat upon so much that I just shut it down and cut it off, right?
Right.
Yeah. And so there's this whole period after you go no contact where, you sort of feel like I'm going to be free and I'm going to be able to do everything I want to do whenever I want to do it. And then you realize like, oh my God, I have to start rebuilding from scratch because I'm not actually sure what I like. And I'm not actually sure what I dislike, right? I mean, how many things did you have to swallow that you didn't like, but you were told that, good people did these things, right? So, I would say when you said give yourself some space and some time, I would say that, yes, that's true for the holidays, but that's true in general. Like you are going to be figuring out who you are in a lot of ways. Something that you should have been doing with the support of your parents starting from when you were a toddler that you never got.
Yeah, absolutely.
Give yourself a lot of grace and a lot of time and a lot of empathy for the fact that there's a lot of just basic developmental stuff that you're going to do on your own after you go no contact that you shouldn't have to do on your own, but here you are, right? Like, and just give yourself a lot of kindness around that. If you don't immediately like hop on a plane and go set up a market stall in the streets of Turkey, because that's what, freedom means or something.
Wow.
Yeah, I know, right? That's okay. Take it slow. Figure it out.
I know that for me, one of the things that was really helpful is I would check and see all the events and stuff that were going on in my city in a particular week or a weekend. And so I could just kind of look through what are the bands that are playing and what museum, exhibits are open and where's some weird farmer's market or whatever. And it took me a while. It took me a while of doing that regularly to even want to do something. Or I would be like, well, I might want to do something, but I have to find parking. And it's like, I'm not sure if it's going to be worth it.
Yeah.
And that's fine. But it's a matter of actually taking a look. And even if you don't like anything, even for several weeks or a couple months, because at some point, it will lead you to something else, or someone will say, oh, there's this photography exhibit at the blah, blah, blah. And it's like, oh my God, the other 10 photography exhibits that I've looked at in the last couple of months, I've not been interested in. But this one thing I actually am interested in.
Yeah.
And that's helpful. I've also found out that what's been helpful for me is my algorithm. I don't think that that's true for everyone because, I'm a little bit older, so I have a little bit more I've had more time to find out who I am. But my social media algorithm will show me things and will lead me in certain directions that I have found really helpful because it really is just do you like this? Are you interested in this? Do you like this? And it's oh, actually, yeah. So social media can be a mirror in that way. And sometimes that's not so great, but sometimes it is great.
Yeah. I love that idea of sort of, looking at things and that being a step in the process, right? That you don't actually have to go to the thing, but you just have to sort of feel in your body, does that sound like it would be interesting? Or is it something that the converse is true too? Is it something that historically you thought you were interested in, but when you actually feel into your body, you're like, no, I don't want to do that, right? Maybe it was something your family did together that you actually never really liked, or something they told you about who you were that is not really true about who you were, Yeah. I used to think that I loved debating because my family was really big into, debating political topics or whatever. I hate that. I hate it. But for years that was I was like, oh yes, I love a good intellectual conversation, right? And that in my mind was what that meant, right? Because that was the only way I knew to have them. And I realized, it took me years, but I realized, at some point after going no contact, I actually hate that. I hate that. It feels horrible. And no, I don't want to do that, right?
I could see how that a political debate is better than being verbally abused outright. And as I'm listening to hear you talk, what's coming to me is that it's not just about the holidays or the social expectations. We can actually look at this through a trauma lens, right? So what I'm hearing is that there's two aspects to a lot of these family expectations, which is one, performance, right? You have to behave in a certain way and blah, blah, blah. And then the other is being perceived. So a lot of these things are public, or they're certainly not private. And so those things are triggering from a trauma point of view.
Yeah. Yeah. There's this double whammy of having to make sure that you're masking or playing the part in a way that isn't going to get you the anger or, even better, is going to get you the brownie points. But, you're really just looking out for like, is this going to come back at me some way? Yeah, you're right. If you're doing that in public, like, God, especially when I was, if my mom had friends over, right? Or we went out to dinner, right? And there were other people and I knew that my behavior was absolutely going to be taken by her as a reflection on her.
100%.
I didn't even want to, if I could have shrunk down to the size of an atom so no one could see me, I would have, right? Like if I had that superpower, right? Like,
yeah,
it was just so dangerous to even just be perceived because then people would ask me questions. I mean, innocuous questions. How's school, Megan? Right? Like, or just something like that, right? You're right. It was doubly the pressure of like, shit, what's the right thing to say here? And oh my God, I wish I could disappear because I know that whatever I say, I'm going to be scrutinized.
Right.
And it's not going to be safe.
What I think about it is it's like, how can I lie convincingly? So how can I lie in a way so that I sound normal to my mom, right? Because she's going to be monitoring how I'm behaving because she doesn't want anybody to know that she's abusing me. And then how can I lie convincingly to the person that I'm talking to so that they actually feel like I am emotionally connected and telling them the truth?
Yeah.
You see, it's super complicated.
It's super complicated. It's spinning 10 plates in the air all at the same time.
Right. And everybody else thinks you're just here having a good time with your family.
Right. Yeah.
But that's never what's going on.
It's never what's going on. Yeah.
Yeah. Layers and layers of lies.
It's layers and layers of lies. So, when you go no contact, the nice thing is you don't have to be in those situations anymore. So that is definitely, a bonus, right? Of going no contact and it's a process too of sort of just coming back to yourself, being able to be honest. And I don't mean that from like a lying point of view. I mean, like not self-abandoning, right? That takes years after you go no contact because you don't even know when you're self-abandoning, right? Yeah.
I'm just thinking about just how long it takes because like even in this conversation, right? I am in my 50s and I've been in therapy for decades and I'm a professional and still I am figuring out in this moment as you're talking these things, so it's not like, it's like there's these empty spaces in your psyche like when you go no contact, right? So when you're in the situation, you are just being constantly filled with shit and abuse and whatever.
Yeah.
But then when that stops, there's like that part on the map, right? The old maps that are like, there be dragons. Like we don't know anything there. So we're just going to like put a little like giant serpent in there or clouds or something. That's what it feels like, right? And it takes decades to put words to or to even actually like get to symbolism or a body sensation that actually starts to parse out all of this like cloudy nothingness.
Yeah. Yeah. And at the same time, I feel like I'm watching other people for context clues, right? Because like, I'm like, oh, look, it's like a, nature special. There goes a person who had relatively safe parents. How would they act in this situation? And it's like
ice skating is what they're doing during this time of the season. Yeah, totally.
And so you're watching other people, right? Sort of both for healing purposes, so you can start to learn what a, healthy, normal relationship looks like. But also because you just never learned, right? Like you never learned so many of these key things. And so I think, something that is important to remember, and we've sort of touched on this before, is like opting out from holidays, birthdays, whatever, after you go no contact because of all of this stuff that comes up that you have to think about and that you have to process through and that you have to like, figure out what's on that part of the map that you've never been to before, Like it's okay to just sit in your comfy chair at home with your blanket and your cat and your book. Like that is fine. There's no
Yeah.
timeline, right? There's no reason that you have to do that. If it feels safer to celebrate Christmas with just two other people in your own home, like if that feels safer from both like a being perceived and a performance point of view, and also like, again, figuring out what your new normal is post no contact, that's fine.
Yeah.
Like do that forever.
Yeah.
Have that be your new holiday tradition,
I think there's something about really just being gentle with yourself. And I think about like what it's like for like military veterans on the 4th of July when like you hear all the fireworks going off.
Yeah.
Like they don't necessarily want to go out and enjoy the fireworks. Like it is triggering. And, basically they want to put earplugs in and they want to just like do something where no one's around. And so it's natural and understandable for these things that are supposed to be in our society, experiences of love and connection or symbols of love and connection, and they freak us the fuck out. And it's okay.
Yeah.
It's just okay.
Yeah. I saw this video on Instagram the other day that was clearly an AI video, but it was this elevator and it said, which floor would you want to get off on? Have you seen this one?
No.
And the doors
open.
Scared. And like the doors open and like some of them I would have chose, like one of them was like a room full of puppies with your best friend. I'm like, oh yeah, I would do that. But I was shocked I think there were 8 floors if I'm remembering. And I think 3 of them were related to your childhood home or family. One of them was the door open to, the backyard of your childhood home and your childhood dog was there, right?
Oh, God.
And I thought, well, the dog, yeah, but the backyard of my home, oh God, no. Like, that's terrifying, no. Right? And then another one was your childhood bit opened up and it was your childhood bedroom with everything just as it was when you were growing up. And I was like, oh, no. And then another one was, a Christmas with all of your favorite family members and friends, right? And it, open to like a Christmas tree or whatever. And I was like, I can't even conceive of that. Like a big Christmas with family there that I enjoyed. And the other ones were like, a spa day or a shopping day or whatever. But it reminded me of how much things that other people feel safety and fondness and love around are terrifying to me, right?
Yeah.
And they're never not going to be terrifying. I'm never going to therapy my way out of the idea of my childhood bedroom feeling terrifying to me, right?
And what I will say is that 2 things. One is that is part of the abuse in the sense that the people who abused you weaponized and took away the normal things that are supposed to create comfort for you and to stabilize you. They used that. And then that is also another loss. They took all of those things away from you.
Yeah.
It's never going to be simple or easy or anything. And that is like a whole nother level of bullshit that they did.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not like I'm angry or anything.
No, I hear you. And I also just want to say, I'm thinking of this because I'm thinking of the first couple like Thanksgivings and holidays where I was young. I'd gone no contact, so I wasn't going to go home and be with my family. But I also like didn't have a partner maybe at that time or something. And I ended up spending holidays alone. And I felt like a social freak. I felt like there must be something wrong with me that I didn't have people to spend holidays with. And I just want to say to people out there, if you've just gone no contact and you're in a position where it's, the holidays or even your birthday or something and you don't have anyone to spend it with, like I have now come around to the place where I enjoy those times. I'm like, oh, I get a day all to myself. Everyone else is doing something. I get to do whatever I want today, right?
Yeah. Everyone else is occupied. So
everyone else is occupied, right? So it's that fear of being perceived thing. I'm like walking through the world by myself, right? And so I just want to say that, of course, you talked about this being weaponized, and this is one of the ways, right? So that when you do go no contact and you are alone on the holidays or your birthday or whatever, of course, that narrative is going to come up in your head of like, what's wrong with me that I don't have anyone to spend these days with? That's not your fault. That's their fault that you don't have anyone to spend these holidays with, right? That is their weaponizing of, of this kind of thing.
And they didn't let you build anything because they just took so much time and so much energy away from you.
Yeah.
Like
you didn't have any members. Like I was alone on the holidays because obviously I'd gone no contact with my mom, but she'd poisoned all of my relatives against me by telling them stories, lies about me. So now I wasn't welcome in their house either, right? So, I just want to say, like, it is not your fault, right? And you can look at this as your time to, again, like, make your own tradition. If it doesn't have anything to do with the holiday, if you don't want it to,
Yeah, it doesn't have to be special. It can just be like a quiet thing that you like doing that you would want to do every other day. Like it doesn't have to be.
Yeah, I think there were a couple of holidays where I just ended up going to like back to back to back movies in the movie theater, right? This is before the days of streaming. But, like I just went and I saw like 2 or 3 movies in a row, and that was my Thanksgiving day. And then I would stop on the way home and I got Chinese food or something. Do you know what I mean? Like
it's amazing.
Yeah. So you really can make it whatever you want, but just, do your best not to beat yourself up about it because it's not your fault. It's not your fault. It's their fault. We hate them.
It's their fault.
They're terrible people.
And not to dunk on anybody who hasn't gone no contact yet, but how you said, you have that feeling that there's something wrong with you. No, there's something right with you that you went no contact because there was a part of you that was healthy enough and strong enough to refuse to capitulate and refuse to remain in something toxic.
Yeah.
So so you really should actually celebrate that. Not like you have to celebrate it, but it's like, no, it's good. It's something good about you that you're in this situation.
And I'm reminded, I just saw an interview with Kamala Harris, and she was talking about how, breaking through, glass ceilings or things like that is what she was talking about, right? But I think that this applies just as much to breaking no contact or breaking whatever. She said, what you have to remember is it's not that you're on one side, of the glass ceiling and then you're on the other side, right? That's not how it happened. You break through something that's glass. So you get cut and you get hurt and you get, but it is worth it because then you're on the other side. But she said people have this mistake of thinking that when you're breaking barriers, you just are on one side and then you're on the other. She's like, but that's not how it works. She's like, I've broken through a lot of barriers in my life and you're breaking something. You will get hurt,
Yeah.
And I love that metaphor. And I think that it's really true for no contact as well, is that, it is not easy. You are breaking something, but you are absolutely doing the right thing. And it is so much better on the other side.
Yeah. It's better to be cut by glass temporarily than to be poisoned.
Yeah.
Systematically for years.
Yeah.
Right?
There's that great, I don't know who it is. I'm sure you've seen it, but there's that great meme where this girl, she's on stage with a panel of people and she says, I just want to know how much disrespect can I take from my family before it's too much?
Oh.
And he stops for a second and then he holds the microphone up and he says, how much poison do you drink before you die?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's already too much.
Yeah, it's already. Yeah.
It's already too much. So go no contact. It won't be easy. Be careful with yourself. Be slow with yourself. Have a group of people that understand. Have a therapist with you if you're able to. And reach out to us. We're here.
Yeah, we're here for you. We've been through it.
We've been through it. And we genuinely mean it when we say we're trying to start a community here. So please reach out if you need support. We'd love to hear from you.
Yeah. And terrible children are everywhere. We just know how to hide really well.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
So, we are everywhere.
We need like a secret like tattoo that we get to like, tell each other, and then when you see someone with the, flying monkey tattoo or something, that would be a bad one. I don't know what the tattoo would be, but.
Or a bat signal.
Bat signal. Yeah, maybe that's it. Are you ready for our crazy mama stories?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Do you want to go first or
Ugh.
should I go first?
I'll go first. Okay, so my mother used to whisper to herself repeatedly. So I would be in the house and this is like I can't
Oh,
it's like a horror.
creepy. It's like
Yeah.
horror movies.
It is. Thank you. Because again, it's one of those things where it's like, that doesn't sound terrible. But like, so I would be in the house and then I would just hear this like repetitive whispering and it would be like angry whispering. And I didn't always hear what she was saying. And sometimes it wasn't but like, I do remember sometimes like she would just be like, I wish he was dead or I want him to die.
God.
Yeah. Like, I mean, she would just,
I've got like CCGBs just hearing about that. That's terrible. Oh my God.
my blood would run cold.
Yes,
Like,
rightfully so.
It's like fucking crazy. Like crazy. She did this a lot. Like, I mean, I don't think anybody else was in the house. I don't remember anybody else hearing it or anything like that. Of course, no one talked about it. But
Right.
this is not something that happened like once or twice.
Yeah.
This is something that would happen semi-regularly throughout my childhood. And yeah, like, and I didn't necessarily want to know what she was saying, but it was
No.
never good.
But it also let you know that she was unstable and unsafe and that like
even her own.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, like her by herself in her own home, she was like doing this.
And I'm sure, I know that for me, there were certain things that if I heard my mom say or do, or even like the way that she was breathing or moving, I would immediately freeze up. And I'm sure this was one of them. If I heard my mom whispering to herself like that, I would immediately just go into complete, fight, flight, freeze, appease, probably freeze.
Yeah, 100%. Thank you for saying that, because that is like literally, like, I mean, petrified, right? Literally.
Petrified. Well, it's
stone.
Yes. That is like a thing from a horror movie. I mean, I don't know if this has happened to you, but a lot of times I will be watching a horror movie or reading some sort of like book like Silence of the Lambs or something, and they will describe something like that the totally crazy person did, and I'll be like, wait, my mom did that.
And
that
that's
sounds
not that crazy.
And yes, and that's the next thought is like, oh, is that crazy? Wait, it is. It must be that crazy because they're writing it in a book, and that's the crazy character. That's the psychopath character. But it sounds like something out of like a horror movie. It really does. It sounds like.
Thank you for validating it, because I know the feeling in my body, but then it's like, this can't possibly be, like, we're going to get emails saying, Elizabeth, this is not a crazy mama story. Like,
all moms talk to themselves in creepy whispers saying how they want to kill people. What are you talking about?
Just suck it up. Like,
no, that is not normal. That is super creepy. And this illustrates one of the worst parts of the abuse is that things that were so creepy and crazy and dangerous would happen and nobody would acknowledge them. And when nobody acknowledges something, you start to think that it's normal, because wouldn't somebody say something if it was as creepy as my body is telling me it is, right? Like, wouldn't somebody speak up? But the problem is you're in a family that's really a cult, right? And no one says anything against the cult leader. Right? It's dangerous. Everybody knows, don't cross the cult leader, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, oh my God.
Okay.
I'm so sorry.
Thank you.
Oh, creepy.
You mean
No, she never did that in front of me. She hid it. She must have hid it, because a lot of things you say, I'm like, oh yeah, I remember her doing that. That one, no. Nope.
Yeah.
I think I did hear her mutter under her breath occasionally, but not like what you're talking about.
No, not like repetitive incantation type.
No. No. And like, I'd hear her mutter under her breath, like if like a waiter did something she wasn't happy with, she'd be like maybe something under her breath, and I could tell it was something mean about the waiter. But that's all I heard. So she saved that. That was special, just for privacy of your own home.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Crazy bitch. I'm so glad she's dead. So glad she's dead.
To call my husband, she's not dead enough.
No, she's definitely not dead enough. Some people are never dead enough. All right. I have a story that I'm actually kind of confused about, but so I'm interested to see what your take is on it. And B, I want to share this story because I think that a lot of what narcissists do is just confusing. Like it leaves you feeling so unsure of what's happening on a certain
Mhm.
level. And that is also part of the abuse is destabilizing you. And not
Okay.
in just like
Will you
sort of,
hold on a second? I'm sorry.
yeah.
Well, I was like, because I am still like not 100% in my body.
Oh,
So I'm
let's
just gonna
take a
let
moment.
Can I do colors and objects? This is really weird, but can I do colors and objects?
Absolutely.
Okay, so maybe this will be the tool thing. So one of the things that we can do, because when we are in a trauma response, parts of our brain shut down.
Mhm.
So if you go around a room and you identify the colors and the objects that you see, that actually turns on the thing. So I see a red swirl in a painting, and I see green leaves, and I see a purple flower, and I see a red, white, and blue Wonder Woman cookie jar, and I see orange cabinets, and also a black cabinet. Okay, okay, I think I'm better.
You better?
Okay,
You want to breathe
now,
together?
yeah, sure, okay,
Okay, let's breathe in and look at me
okay,
and breathe out.
okay, thank you.
And that's you. You good? Want to do one more?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah,
breathe
I'm
in.
good. Yeah, I'm ready to listen to your story.
Okay. Okay. I'm glad you took a moment and let me know. Okay, here's my confusing story.
I already know it was horrible and it's all her fault and she's an evil, evil human being.
Well,
But
yeah, well,
but I am
very
neutral,
fair.
not biased.
Yes, you are, but that's why I love you. We need people who are biased against our terrible parents in our lives. Okay, so my mom, like many middle and upper middle class ladies in LA, had a cleaning woman who was an undocumented immigrant.
Uh-huh.
And this person would come once a week. And over the course of my childhood, we had several of these women come, and they would always, at some point after some period of time, do something horrible and egregious that my mom couldn't forgive. And then she would have to fire them. And then,
Mhm.
a couple weeks later, there would be a new person.
Mhm.
I think there were probably at least 4 or 5 of these different women
Sure.
when I was growing up. So they would last a couple years each before she would, find some reason to be mad.
Did she fire them after she saw you and this person actually have a nice exchange?
Oh, I have no idea. Maybe.
Okay. I'm just saying.
I was scared to talk to them because
Sure.
I didn't want to reveal anything that, I would just go to my room and sort of hide. Not because I was scared of them, but just because it wasn't safe for me to talk to anyone in front of my mom, right?
100%.
So these people would come and go, and, it was always very sudden. So it was like, yeah, I mean, if I had developed any kind of relationship with them, it was like all of a sudden, like, oh, so-and-so is not coming back to work with us anymore. They, did something horrible and, and whatever it was, like they stole something or they broke something or they, whatever, right?
Right.
I now realize as an adult, those things probably weren't true, but, So here's the story. And this is what I find kind of confusing is I must have been, I don't know, 8 or 10, something like that. And one of the women who had been our cleaning woman several years before, maybe a year to 2 before, came and knocked on our door. And she said, and I don't remember even if like my mom invited her in or anything, but I remember just being really surprised that she was there. And she said something about, oh, she was just in the neighborhood and she wanted to just come say hi.
Oh.
And at the time, being a kid, I sort of took that at face value. And I thought, oh, she is a person who just knows us and wanted to say hi. But my mom, after she left, I think I said something like, oh, well, that was nice of her to stop by and say hi. Because again, I didn't, as a kid, realize that my mom had probably fired these people in a rage, right? Like I didn't put that together, right? And my mom looked at me and said, she didn't want to just say hi. She doesn't live anywhere near here. She was just trying to get her job back.
Oh.
And I was very confused because on a couple levels. Like one, now as an adult, realizing how badly my mom probably treated these women. I mean, there's a whole other like socio-political thing we could get into here, classism thing, whatever, racism thing. But, just, on top of the narcissism, like, I just am super confused about, like, was she coming to get her job back? I'm like, was she, and then I was thinking, well, maybe was she worried about me and like coming to check in? Like, I don't know, like, I just found the whole thing so confusing. And yeah, I mean, again, and my mom just, having so much vitriol for this woman who, probably just showed up and did her job every day. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm sure she didn't do anything wrong. And still to this day, I can't figure out what happened. Like, was she actually looking to get her job back? Like, was she, these people would work for my mom 1 day a week, right? It wasn't a full-time thing. So I can't imagine that it would have been that hard for her to pick up another shift she basically would have had to find one other home, right? 1 day a week.
Right.
But then I was thinking, oh shit, did my mom like start telling stories and spreading rumors about her to the other upper middle class women so that she couldn't find work? Like, again, I'm
sure she did.
Confused by this situation, and I'm bringing it up to illustrate just how, like, unsure the ground is when you're growing up with a narcissist, and that so many things happen that just don't make sense. You're like, I can't put 2 and 2 together here and get 4. Like, and yet everyone around me is telling me, well, clearly it's 2 and 2, it's 4, like, duh, right? And I just, I don't know.
Can I like point out a couple of things just in that interaction?
Yes.
That is like really like twisty and whatever. Okay, so one is that this woman is coming back and she's friendly, right? Because that's kind of what you're saying, which is like she's nice, right? Which does not jive at all with the story that your mom told about how like she fucked up and then was fired. So like no person would come back, right, with that kind of like, oh, I'm just,
you would come back with your tail between your legs if you fucked up and were trying to get your job back. Yeah.
Right. 100%. So the way that this person comes in, it doesn't match anything. And then I also think there's another thing, which is that your mother was incapable of perceiving or understanding people's genuine kindness. So what was very clear to you, which was like, oh, but this woman came to say hi, right? I mean, let's put it this way. Even if she came to get her job back or whatever, and it had been an amicable firing, essentially, she didn't have to be that friendly to you. Like, I mean, what I get is that there was just this sort of warmth and genuineness there.
Well, now that you're saying that, what's interesting, now that you're saying that, I think I did point that out to my mom. Like, well, but she was so friendly and she was asking. And my mom said, oh, she was just trying to suck up by being nice to you. That's what she said. Right. Yeah.
Okay. So there's that. And then here's this other thing, which is your mother is shaming this woman to you about this woman's situation that would deserve empathy.
Yeah.
Right? So if someone is looking for work, they're not really in a one-up position. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then I would think that the natural response is like, wow, it must take a lot of courage to like if you were fired or like even if you were let go quickly, it takes some ovadios to knock on the door and to be nice. And then for your mother to just criticize and shit on her for being in the situation that she's in, it's very like twisty and whatever. And so there's all of that just in that interaction with you, let alone like what kind of lies are being told, and what kind of delusions are being spread in, 360 degrees, which I think is also what you're talking about, this confusion, which is just like, none of this makes sense. So nothing makes sense ever.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
If your mom's going to lie to you about things that there's no reason to lie about,
Yeah.
or that what are you going to do? Say she's not a nice person? Like,
well, and also, like, you have a child who's 8 or 10 and believes that someone just kindly came to say hello to them. Why would you shit on that? Why would you feel the need to be like, no, she didn't come say hi to you. That was just a ploy. Like, why would you say that to a child? Let the child believe that someone just came to say hi to them and was nice.
Well, okay. I think it is what you do if you want to systematically damage permanently that person's ability to attach to anyone.
Oh, that.
That's just, I mean, that's just off the top of my head. I'm just spitballing here.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So, I mean,
obviously,
to my point, though, and this is sort of why I brought up this story, is like, it doesn't even have to be these horrific, traumatic, like your story
100%.
would have scared the shit out of anyone, like rightfully so, right? That was that is horrifying. That is the kind of story that you tell people if somebody asks you, like, what bad things did your mom do? What was really so abusive? And you could just tell them that one story that you told them. They'd be like, oh, okay, I'm sorry. I will never bring it up again. Like, she is dead to me, right? That is horrifying.
I don't even consider that. You know?
Yeah, no, it was bad. My story, I feel like, was, one of those ones that on the surface doesn't seem that bad, but like you just unpacked it in a way that I was like, oh yeah, she was absolutely trying to make me feel isolated and like no one gave a shit about me. Like every little opportunity she could, she would do that, right? And just and that's what we mean by the like death by 1,000 paper cuts, right? Or 10,000 paper cuts, right? Is it doesn't have to be a huge thing. It's like she took any opportunity she had.
Yeah.
And the other part of that story too is if she was talking that way about that woman, I knew for a fact that she could talk that way about me too, right?
100%.
Like it's also this modeling of behavior, right?
Yeah.
So it doesn't even have to be an interaction that is on its surface horrifying. It's still this constant undermining at every turn of your sense of self, of your sense of safety, of your sense of what reality is. And it's not happening day in and day out with these tiny little interactions that really is the, core of why this is CBTSD we have, right? It's the complex part of it, right? Like,
right. And one of the things that I'm hearing is this three-pronged inability to trust, right? So I can't trust this cleaning lady because I'm being told that she's horrible, even though my own experience is that she's kind, right? So I can't trust this woman because people's motivations are terrible and their nice behavior, could hide their terrible motivations. I can't trust myself because my own experience is this person is nice. Like my body is telling me, this is a safe person, but I'm being told I'm wrong.
Yeah.
And then I can't trust my mom because what she is saying does not make sense.
Right. And I can't trust anyone else around me because no one is saying this is weird, this is wrong, this is crazy. Sort of like with your mom's story, right? Like it makes you, everyone else who's too scared to say something, it makes you believe that they're not trustworthy either because why wouldn't they say something, right? Why wouldn't another adult say something, right?
Right. I could hear someone hearing that story and just being like, well, maybe they just didn't get along and that, your relationship with this woman was not like theirs. And it's like, no, you don't understand. Like, this is a whole nother thing. Like, my mother is totally shitting on this woman and shaming her in a fundamental way. And it's damaging my ability to understand anybody.
Yeah. And I think that that's why this type of abuse is so challenging for people to talk about, because if you don't understand the underlying dynamics of what's going on, the simple facts of the story can be explained away in a way that is rational, even though what would happen was not rational at all, right?
Yeah.
So when you're telling these stories, people are like, when you tell them one at a time, these sort of little moments like that, right? It's like, well, that wasn't that bad. And again, it's the relentlessness of it. And it's the layers of meaning that are happening, right? It's not just what's happening on the surface. And if you've spent any time with a narcissist, you know that what they're saying on the surface is hiding 20 basement levels of shit going on in their psyche.
Right.
Oh,
and God, yes.
And if you're not aware of those 20 basement levels going way down underground of their psyche as their child, you're going to be in a fuckload of trouble, a fuckload of pain. right?
Well, and it's like you have to know all of them, but you have to pretend that they're not there.
Yeah.
Right? That's
Yeah.
hard enough. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like
At age 5, you have to do all this.
at
Yeah.
age 3
At age
or
3.
6 months
Yep.
or whatever. Yeah. You're dancing as fast as you can before you can dance.
You have a deep degree, like a PhD in personality
Seriously.
disorders by the age of 5. And no one validating your experience, right? People telling you,
Right.
no, this is normal. This is what families are, that your family seems normal. Okay, let's talk about tools that we used to get through this week. Well, you just demonstrated a really lovely one. I love that one. Can I tell my tool? I have a tool.
Of course.
So this was more of like a self-care thing that I did, but I was pretty proud of myself. And again, this is going to sound so silly, but I'm hoping that all the terrible children out there listening will understand what a big deal this is. So I was, of course, always chastised for being ungrateful and for wasting things and for taking things for granted or not appreciating what I was given, all of that, right? So anytime I have something that I don't completely use every little ounce of it or, appreciate it to the nth degree, like I start to beat up on myself in my own head. And so one of the things that this has happened with is I love reading books. I love books. But if I buy a book, I have this like unwritten rule for myself that I have to read at least 50% of it before I can decide it's not for me and put it down, right? Because otherwise I haven't given it a good try, right? It's my fault for not giving the book a chance, right? That's what my internal critic is saying.
So your relationship with a book is a relationship with your narcissistic parent.
Yeah, exactly, right? So there's a book by an author that I love, and you love too, Martha Wells, that I picked up the other week. A big, long book. I was super excited. I'm like, yes, 1,000 pages of Martha Wells. This is going to be amazing. And I get about 20 pages into it, maybe 15, 20 pages into it. And I realize it's a YA book. Young adult literature is great, but it just wasn't. I don't usually read YA. It's not usually my thing. Like it definitely wasn't. Wasn't what I was in the mood for at the moment. So instead of, I did have a few back and forths of like, well, I shouldn't put it down just because it's YA. Like plenty of adults read YA, and this is an author you like, and you spent money on this book and blah, blah, blah. And then I just went, no, I'm just going to put it down. I'm just going to read the 10 pages that I've read or 15 or whatever it was and just put it down. This is not what I'm in the mood for. And this is not what I want to read. And so I put it down and I picked up the next book in my TBR pile and I started reading it and I love it and I can't put it down and it's amazing and it's just what I wanted. So I was just really proud of myself for defeating that inner critic that told me that I was, who knows what, for putting the book down after not giving it a chance. Quote unquote, not giving it a chance.
Look, you did give it a chance. You did give it a chance.
Yeah.
You should be proud of yourself. That is amazing. Life is short. Life is short and time is precious.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Thank you.
Good for you. Keep putting down books that you don't
Yes. Or whatever. Like keep putting down, you don't have to finish the movie. You don't have to finish the food that you started eating. You don't have to finish the project that you started. You don't have to finish the painting that you picked up. You don't have to, you don't have to finish anything.
Yep. 100%. Yay!
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah. So I did colors and objects this week. That's how I got into
Yeah, no, I love colors and objects. And I loved actually doing these things in real time. Like I'm realizing that could be really helpful for people if we actually just do the tool. That was really brave of you and wise. And I'm really proud of you and happy that you did that.
Well, thank you. I would be happy to do stuff like that.
Yeah.
Learning by doing, right? Yeah.
Exactly. So nice segue, because I was about to give out the email for how to contact us. So if you want us to demonstrate more tools or do stuff like that, feel free to email us and let us know. Our email is the letter H, the number 2, the letter B, terrible @gmail.com, H2B terrible @gmail.com. We're also on Instagram. We're on TikTok. We're on YouTube. All of the places.
We have a link tree.
We have a link tree, so you can message us there. We're also gathering crazy mom-off stories from listeners. We've got quite a few, and hopefully maybe we'll get enough soon to do a whole episode of just reading crazy fucked up shit our listeners' parents did. That would be amazing.
You're not alone, and we will be pissed off for you.
Oh my God, we're going to be so mad on your behalf. I'm so excited to be so pissed off at all these parents. Also, Elizabeth has been busy doing some amazing graphic design, and we have an Etsy shop. It's Heinous Offspring on Etsy. So if you want to go over there and look at some of the stuff she's created, it's pretty amazing. I have a couple pieces myself in my collection that I wear on a regular basis. So please go check that out.
Little daughter t-shirt right now.
Oh, nice. Very nice.
In purple.
Nice, nice. And then we just want to say, especially when you go no contact, you are absolutely going to be made into the villain in your parents' and your narcissistic parents' story. They're going to tell all sorts of stories about you. They're going to tell you to your face how horrible you are. Well, hopefully not. If you've effectively gone no contact, they can't reach you. But they will surely have you be the villain in the story for quite a long time after you go non-contact. So I just want to say, be the villain. Own it. Just be like, yep, I'm the villain. I am the horrible child that stopped talking to my parent. That's the way it is. So we encourage you, as usual, to be the villain, but especially after no contact, absolutely be the villain. Thank you for listening. We'd be so grateful if you'd follow or subscribe and rate and review our podcast on your favorite podcast app.
Make sure to share it with friends, family, or anyone that you think may benefit from this content.
And as a final reminder, you are not the crazy one.